Hey guys, Tony Denaro. Welcome back to the channel. In today's video, I'm going to go over with you the March 28th 10K filing for Hycroft Mining, catch you up on how they did over the last year in Q4 and what the plans are going forward for Hycroft Mining. Now, I get a lot of hate on my coverage of Hycroft Mining. I've been called a paid hedge fund plant, a paid actor, a shill, a hater of Hycroft Mining. I've also been called a pumper of Hycroft Mining. Guys, I'm none of the above. I'm just someone who reads filings, listens to what the company is telling us, and relays that information to you in a non-biased fashion. You can hate all you want, but we have been exactly right over the last year about Hycroft Mining. Let's get into the 10K, and welcome to the channel if you are here for some facts about what to expect and when and if Hycroft can be profitable. Let's get into it. Okay, a quick recap on Hycroft Mining. It was trading a year ago at 28 cents. HYMC got involved at about $1 a share. A bunch of retail investors got in the play, ran it up to $3.10. I said at that time, wait for it to come back down before you jump in. And here we are a year later at 42 cents. Is it a good investment now, or should you wait? That is what we're going to talk about, as well as the financials and Hycroft's communicated business plan for 2023, 2024, and beyond. So I hope you get some value out of this. The information we're going to be going over at a very high level as quickly as I can to get you the key information is not my opinion. This is coming from Hycroft's communicated March 2023 corporate presentation and the 10K that was filed on March 28th. You might ask yourself, if it fell from $3 to 42 cents, what do people like about Hycroft? What is the potential here? It is indisputable that they are sitting on one of the world's largest precious metal deposits, as you can see on Hycroft's slide here. Hycroft does also have a very good current cash position of $142 million, and they are not burning through that super quickly, and there is significant exploration upside. These are the positives about Hycroft, why you might want to consider it. As far as when to consider it, I consider this still a speculative long-term play. The outcome of Hycroft, what is going to happen with Hycroft, if they will be successful or ultimately go down to zero, is going to be dependent on a lot of things, and we're going to talk about those really quickly in this video. A recap of what happened in 2022 with Hycroft Mining. They did stop drilling in 2022. They have depleted all of the resources that were in process on the leach pads, and they completed their phase 1 drill program. Now that we are in 2023, there still is not going to be any active mining. There will be negligible, if any, income or revenue coming in for Hycroft in 2023. This is important for you to know. No income coming in. They are right now in 2023 working on phase 2 of the drilling and exploration program, which is a key component to launch them into the next phase of operations in future years. Hycroft is just now wrapping up Q1 2023, getting the equipment on location. In Q2 and Q3 of 2023, this year coming up, they plan to do 5,000 meters of reverse circulation drilling and 3,500 meters of core drilling, finalize the metallurgical test work, and finalize the process flow sheet. And then in Q4 of 2023, extending into Q1 2024, you see here they will finalize the PFS, or the pre-feasibility study. What does that mean? I've covered all of that on previous videos. I'll put the links to them in the video description. Hycroft is taking all of the results of phase 1 and phase 2 drilling and exploration to spec out a new milling operation. They're going to need to spend some money on that after 2024, and we will be hearing more about that sometime in 2024 would be my expectation. Once that is done, if all of that goes well, if that is approved, if shareholders approve the money and gold prices and silver prices are still high, then Hycroft can move back into drilling with the new milling plant and start generating some revenue on this massive gold and silver deposit that they have under the ground. We do have this ownership summary slide from Hycroft showing HYMC Entertainment owning 11% of the stock, Eric Sprott 9%, Mudrick 1.9%, and other and retail 77.2%. When I look over on Fintel, which has the most current filings as of March 22nd, Mudrick right here on top owned 4.9%, 10 million shares. So I'm not sure what the discrepancy is, but I thought I would point that out. You also might notice that it says AMC here owns 46 million shares, whereas on the report here from Hycroft, it shows them owning 23.4 million shares. To my knowledge, this is not accurate information shown on Fintel. I guess it depends on how they interpreted the ownership form, the 13D filed by AMC. 23 million shares, 23 million warrants, which is not shares that they own yet. They can if they exercise the warrants. We are going to look now at the financial statements reported by Hycroft, but while we are still here on Fintel, I think it's worth pointing out that Mudrick Capital did lighten up a lot on their ownership in AMC. You can see here on the screen all of the sales that Mudrick did between late January and early February, while the price was dropping from 61 cents down to 52 cents. Okay, moving now over to the annual report, the 10K, a couple of highlights. For those of you that did not know that Hycroft stopped actively mining, they do have a note here that during the year ending December 2022, just a couple months ago, they completed processing of gold and silver ore previously placed on the leach pads prior to ceasing mining operations in November of 2021. They actually stopped mining in November of 2021. They processed the ore through 2022. And they sold in 2022 17,700 ounces of gold and 44,000 ounces of silver. In regards to my previous comment about why you should not expect any revenue or income from Hycroft in 2023, as we see here in the green section that I highlighted, Hycroft is telling us that they do not expect to have significant revenue from gold and silver sales until restarting mining operations. And by my read of all of their material, that's probably going to be 2025 at the soonest. Why does Tony Denaro consider Hycroft a speculative long-term play? Let's look at a couple of the risks in the 10K that the company wants us to read. Number one, starting off, the company is not currently conducting commercial mining operations. There is no certainty that the mineral resources estimated at Hycroft will be mined, or if mined, processed profitably. The company has no specific plans and cannot currently predict when the mine may be back in operation. Next up, a risk highlighted about the feasibility study. Remember, all of this exploration and drilling that they're doing right now is to finish up the feasibility study to move back into mining operations. And the company wants you to know that they have not completed yet the feasibility study for the proposed processing method, the proposed milling plant, and that if the estimated costs are too high, there may be further delays or a cancellation of advancement at the Hycroft mine. There is no certainty that a feasibility study for Hycroft mine will be completed, or if it is completed, that it will result in sufficiently favorable estimates of the economic viability of the mine to justify the construction of that milling plant. In other words, if it's too expensive to do or gold and silver prices have come down, then there could be delays or cancellation of this project. You guys probably already know this, but the company has been given a delisting warning from the exchange for being under $1 for 30 days. So there is a vote on the table at the annual meeting on May 24th of 2023 to effect a reverse split at a ratio of no less than 1-for-10 and no more than 1-for-25. I do recommend, if you're holding Hycroft, that you vote for that reverse split to avoid the company being delisted. And I would expect that they will effect a 1-for-25 reverse split once that is approved. As we discussed, and as we'll see on the balance sheet in just a second, the company has plenty of cash at the moment, but to get into that next phase of operation, they want you to know they will need to raise additional capital, either through debt or an equity offering or dilution. And that when that happens, you may experience dilution in both your voting power and the price of your stock due to these future equity offerings. All right, now let's wrap up this video looking at the financial statements. Starting off with the balance sheet on an annual basis, the company ended the year with $141 million in cash. The increase over 2021 was because of the stock offering they did in March of 2022. Total assets, including that cash, plants, and equipment, come in at $248 million. Total liabilities, including the long-term debt, come in at $185 million. This gives us a total stockholders' equity of $63 million. On the income statement, statement, you can see a dramatic reduction in the revenues because the company stopped actively mining in November of 2021. So in 2021, although the revenues were 110 million, there was a massive drop to 33 million for the total year of 2022. Because they did not have to incur the cost of all that mining, however, the operating expenses also dropped. So we have a total loss of operations of only $53 million versus in 2021, $83 million. Net loss for 2022, $60 million versus $88 million for 2021. We carry that loss from the income statement down to the cash flow statement, starting off with negative $60 million. We do all the adjustments for operating activities. We end up with a net cash used in operating activities at negative $34.8 million. In the middle of the cash flow statement, we have cash flows provided from investing activities. The company did sell some equipment, so we have a positive here, positive $8.3 million. And in the bottom section, cash flows provided by financing activities. The company did do that stock offering in March of 2022. So we have a total of net cash provided by financing activities of $155 million. When you add all these up, that gives them a total reconciliation of cash of $175 million. You can also find these numbers on the balance sheet, the $141 million in cash and the restricted cash of $33.9 million. For those interested in more of a breakdown on the long-term debt, this table shows you that. Bulk of the debt is going to be due in 2027. We got 4 years to worry about that. We got 4 years to get the mine back into operations. Before that is a major concern, but it is something to be aware of. And regarding the inventories on the balance sheet, or if there's still any doubt that Hycroft has any gold or silver that they're going to process and sell, I think we've beat that horse to death. But here is a table showing inventories and ores on the leach pads. You can see the amount in ounces on the far right hand side from 2021. You can see at the end of 22, everything is zeroed out. There is no more gold and silver in process. They do have 2.8 million in materials and supplies. I imagine that is materials and supplies that they use to process the gold and ore. But we can see here, as far as ounces of anything left, zeroed out. Do not expect any revenue from this company in 2023. That is the 2022 year-end recap. If you want to know some specifics about how Q4 went, revenue was actually up compared to any other quarter in 2022. In the fourth quarter, 11.4 million, as they depleted all of that gold and silver that they had in process and sold it. So the revenue was actually pretty good for Q4. You might wonder, if the revenue was so much higher, why is the operating income negative 20 million when it was much lower in previous quarters? There was some asset recovery obligations that are included in this cost of revenue. You'll notice the cost of revenue is a lot higher also than in previous quarters. That is the main driver of the negative 20 million on operating income. Net income for the quarter came in at minus 13.9 million, or minus 0.07 earnings per share. When we look at the Q4 specific balance sheet, I don't really see anything out of order here. You can see a very slow cash burn every quarter. We ended up with 175 million in cash and cash equivalents. There is no appreciable inventory left, as we already talked about. All the gold and silver is off the balance sheet. It's sold. There's no more. Total current assets for Q4, 152 million. Total assets, including cash, cash equivalents, property, etc., $248 million. Total liabilities for Q4, 185 million. And that gives us a total shareholders' equity of $63 million, although since there was a loss on the quarter, the retained earnings increases in the wrong direction, now at negative $670 million. So as I give you my wrap-up thoughts, if you made it this far, congratulations. Please put the word gold down in the comments so I can track who actually cares about this mining company and knowing all of the information. I think that Hycroft Mining has a fantastic executive team. If anybody can get this mine into the next phase of operations in 2025, Diane Garrett and the team is the one to do it. As far as you and me as investors, retail investors in this company, I think it's maybe important that you rewind this video and watch again all of the risks that are involved in this play, so that when you hear me over the next year talk about it as a speculative long-term investment, you kind of know where I'm coming from. There are a lot of unknowns. There are a lot of things that need to happen for this mine to be successful in getting into the next phase of operations. That's not going to happen in 2023. It's not going to happen in 2024. They've got to finish the exploration. They've got to then, if it's cost justified, build the new milling plant and then restart mining. And then probably in 2025, if I'm being optimistic and aggressive on the timeline, maybe in 2025, we can get some revenue coming from new mining operations for Hycroft Mining. What does that mean for you? Use your discretion, use your judgment, use your wisdom in determining what is going to happen with this stock price. With no income coming in for a couple years, with the reverse split coming in, and with the need to either incur more debt or do an equity offering, i.e. dilution, to raise the money to build that milling plant. I do have a small position in Hycroft. Gold stocks tend to move up and down on news or on things that are going on in the economy that make gold and silver prices go up and down. So there are opportunities to trade this thing, but I think that the general direction of the stock is probably going to languish. That's the nicest way I can say it. My videos should never be taken as buy, sell, or hold advice. I'm simply reading to you the information the company provided, adding a little bit of color to help you understand it if you're not a finance person. If you have questions, feel free to drop them down in the comments below. I will do my best to answer them as time permits. If you got value out of this video, please feel free to like and share it. Let's make sure the right information is in the hands of investors so that people can choose the right time to invest in this company if they choose to invest in it. For the moment, I do have a very small position in Hycroft, which I plan to trade on news if good news happens. And if I choose to add to that position, it will be in moments of weakness, such as if at some point in the future gold prices really fall, or there is a reverse split and a dilution announcement announced on Hycroft Mining. I am Tony Denaro. Thank you for watching, and I will see you on the next video.